Working on a Simplex steam locomotive, part 29. Cleaning up the valve gear parts, and once that was done, I refitted the wheel sets, followed by the valve gear. There are some discrepancies regarding the wheel quartering. I explain this in detail during the video. The first thing to look at is the die block in the lifting arm. Initially I left this in the lifting arm so I wouldn't lose it, but now it's time to remove it and fit it back in position in the radius rod. But first, a bit of oil on the expansion link bearing, I think. You will see me lubricating the parts frequently because don't forget this has been through the parts washer and the steam cleaner, so any bearing surfaces on the chassis will be very dry. And one more time, the only spanner I could find that fitted these nuts was one of the cheap laser cut sets from Blackgates Engineering. I'm really glad I bought these. In no time at all, the expansion link is in place with the radius rod sandwiched in between it. And before I fit the combination lever, which connects to the radius rod, I thought I would just clean up the valve fork because it was a bit grimy. Once again, I used the Proxxon motor tool with the wire brush. If you've been following this series, you will know that both of the combination levers were bent. And now I'm taking a closer look at the valve fork, I think I know why. This is the underside of the valve fork, and you can clearly see that it's been filed to give more clearance for the combination lever to move. And I would assume that when the engine was first built and put together, the top of the combination lever fouled the valve fork, which would explain why the combination lever was bent. Once again, before assembly, plenty of oil. Probably a bit too much, but it's better to have too much oil than too little. Unless, of course, it's inside a car engine, when having too much oil is definitely not a good idea. But because steam engines are far more primitive than internal combustion engines, and all the working parts are stuck outside the engine, not sat in an oil bath, then lubrication is essential, as steam engine lubrication is normally a total loss system. In this clip I'm refitting the 3 small bolts that hold the expansion link bracket onto the main motion bracket. And in case you're wondering, yes, I shortened them before I fitted them because originally they were far too long. In this clip I'm refitting the die block in the radius rod, and here I'm fitting the pin that holds the die block in place. And wonders never cease, my nut spinner actually fits the bolt. That's a good thing. I'll just try a spanner to check the size of the other side. Yes, this one's okay, so now I can tighten the pin and that holds the die block in place. And that's one side done. Does it work? I'll just give it a try. And yes, it seems to work quite well. It's very free running, and that should be fine. I noticed that the lifting arm was a bit dirty in places, so I'm using my wire brush in the Proxxon motor tool just to clean it up. And I finished the job off by using a piece of Scotch-Brite. What I will be doing when I've finished the reassembly is go around the entire engine, and using a very small paintbrush I will touch in any damaged paint. In this clip I'm just having a feel at the movement of the valve gear. As you can see, as I move the expansion link, everything moves freely. The valve rod isn't moving because everything is just flapping about in the breeze. But when I hold the combination lever, you can see that the valve moves in and out. Refitting the wheel sets. The job begins by applying some oil to the horn blocks. This is the normal lubricating oil that I buy from a company called Hallett Oils. I need to figure out which way round the wheels fit. I should have marked them when I removed them so they would fit back in exactly the same place. As a general rule, if you fit 2 parts back together that have holes for bolts and the holes are in line, then there's a good chance that that's the correct way to do it. I think I'll go with this because it looks okay. I'm applying some oil to all the moving parts. This is very important. The horn keeps are held to the horn blocks using 2BA bolts, quite short 2BA bolts. I'm tightening these 2BA bolts into the horn blocks using a screwdriver-shaped socket driver. It's fairly important not to shear these bolts off, by the way, so when you're doing this job, put enough pressure on the socket driver just to tighten them up. Do not torque them up like you would on a car engine. A good indication that I've got the centre wheel set the correct way round, all the holes in the horn keeps lined up perfectly with the holes in the horn blocks. All the bolts were easily fitted with my fingers. Moving towards the rear of the engine, it's time to do exactly the same with the rear set of wheels, starting off as previously shown by some lubrication of the horn blocks. Because this engine has been degreased in my parts washer and also steam cleaned, the bearings will be very dry. So before I test run the engine when it's finally back together using compressed air, I will be re-oiling these parts one more time. Even though this is not a new engine and the parts aren't particularly tight, it's been disturbed, so the parts will all need to sort of bed back in, and it's a good idea to use a lot of oil for this job. In this clip I'm giving the wheels a spin just to make sure that they spin freely, and they do. 2 down and 1 to go. This is the front wheel set, the one with the eccentric on it that drives the water pump. So not only am I lubricating the axle boxes, I'm also pumping some lubricating oil around the eccentric strap. By pumping some oil into the axle boxes, this tells me that the hole through to the bearing is not blocked up, which can often be the case on miniature coal-fired steam locomotives. Here's the front axle set in place. It's now time to fit the coupling rods. And these will only fit one way round. The coupling rod fits perfectly on the rear wheel's crank pin and on the centre crank pin, but to fit the coupling rod to the crank pin on the front wheel, you need to lift the front axle set. That's because the crosshead is in the way. During the rotation of the wheels by hand, I'm feeling whether there are any tight spots at any part of the rotation. And the good news is no, everything's running very freely. There is, however, a discrepancy in the quartering of the wheels. It may not be that. It could be that the axle boxes are out of line at one side. It could be a lot of things. Let me explain about wheel quartering. On a steam locomotive, the crank pins need to be a perfect 90 degrees to each other at each side. And if they are not, you will get a tight spot. Quartering locomotive wheels is not as easy as it sounds. Normally I would quarter wheels in my lathe using a couple of set squares. But it really is a good idea to make a jig so that you get every one of them the same. During manufacture of a pair of locomotive frames with axle boxes, it is vital that they are perfectly in line with each other. The coupling rods are held to the rear wheel's crank pins using a large nut. And in this clip one more time I'm showing how important it is to apply plenty of oil. I would like to show you something quite important and very common. At the moment I'm fitting the front retainer for the coupling rod, and as you can see the washer isn't in the centre, so there is something wrong. The phosphor bronze bush in the coupling rod is actually oval. On this engine the rear coupling rods have been silver soldered because I think originally they were made the wrong length. But after all that, if you watch the earlier episode when I was running the engine, it ran quite well anyway, which is the main thing. I'm hoping now that by watching this you're a bit wiser as to why often coupling rods cause the wheels to bind. And that's it for this episode. Please stay healthy and sane. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my main Steam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists you can actually watch the videos back to back.